This got me thinking. I just traded my 310 for Austin Eckler, hoping for one more good bounce back year. If he fails, he fails. I lose to 310. 100% I agree with that trade. I am sure that 99% of y'all watching this do as well. But I have seen a growing sentiment where a lot of people in Dynasty are focusing in on late round rookie drafts, are beginning to think, okay, how do I find the next Puka Nacua? How do I find the next Kyren Williams? And it's completely understandable. These are two guys that legitimately just won fantasy football championships. If you go through and look at the winner of your Dynasty League this year, there's a good shot he had Puka. There's a good shot he had Kyren Williams, because these are guys that literally costed nothing last offseason. Trust me, I wish I was buying. Sadly, I was not smart enough, but they cost nothing last offseason, and they were able to bring home the gold in comparison to guys at the very top like Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow, obviously not getting the job done. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to dive in deep and look at expected hit rates that you should have for these late round rookie picks, what you should be doing with late round rookie picks, and possibly some targets at the end of the video. So y'all know I primarily use flockfantasy.com for all our Dynasty research, but sadly what we don't have on flockfantasy.com is historical data from ADP going back to like 2019, 2020. Sadly, flockfantasy.com was not around in 2019. So what we are going to do is we are going to be pulling up DLF ADP. They have a great ADP set from these historical years, and we can get a sense of what Dynasty owners thought at the time way back when. So I'm going to be looking at ADP in May. This is directly after rookie drafts, directly around the time of rookie drafts, with how these guys are going to be valued. And I didn't want to just look at third, fourth round rookie picks and hear you screaming at me in the comment section, Mason, nobody was going out here and drafting Myles Gaskin. I understand, yes, those late fourth round rookie picks are going to be wildly dependent on your exact league. So instead of just looking at those third and fourth rounders, I actually wanted to move the bar up a little bit higher. We're going to be looking at picks 20 through 45 in every single year and trying to get a sense of what typically this kind of player looks like. Now, a couple asterisks with this. DLF ADP is sadly one quarterback. I understand that most of y'all that are new to Dynasty are saying, why would anybody ever play in a one quarterback Dynasty league? Way back in like 2014, 2015, 2016, 2017, this was the standard. I didn't start playing in my Superflex Dynasty leagues until about 2017. But nonetheless, diving into this, in 2019, you had Calvin Hartman, Irv Smith Jr., Jay Sternberger, Miles Boykin, Alexander Madison, Deontay Johnson, Darwin Thompson, love the name, Terry McLaurin, Benny Snell, Rodney Anderson, Bryce Young, another guy that I really did like. I mean, yeah, so we're going to be going down memory road here. Dexter Williams, Jalen Hurd, another one of my guys. Dwayne Haskins, Reichwell Armstead, Riley Ridley, Travion Williams, Drew Lock, Mike Weber, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Oliver, Khalil Waring, Devine Ugzigbo, Daniel Jones, Myles Gaskin. Like I said, ignore the quarterbacks here. We're not even going to include the quarterbacks in our expected hit rates because I do think the quarterback ADP is so out of whack that honestly, that's not going to provide us much value. But nonetheless, if you're looking at the guys that hit that weren't quarterbacks, you have Terry McLaurin. I mean, a big time name. Everybody loves the highlight grabs that Terry McLaurin has. My question is, has Terry McLaurin ever won anybody their fantasy football league? And the answer is clearly no. Now, I understand everybody's going to be screaming, Mason, Terry McLaurin makes highlight grabs. What are you talking about? Terry McLaurin is so productive. He's so good. Terry McLaurin's never been a top 20 wide receiver from a points per game perspective. Literally has never had a top 20 season in fantasy. So while, yes, the man's good, maybe you make an argument in a different situation, he would have been better. He was never really a difference maker. We'll throw him as a hit, though. Obviously, if you take someone that ends up being a high-end wide receiver 3 in the third round, you should be excited. Deontay Johnson, I think we can classify as a hit. Maybe you want to throw Alexander Madison here. Maybe you want to throw in Hunter Renfrow. The reality is I just kind of want to classify Terry McLaurin and Deontay Johnson as the 2 hits and move on. Now, going over to what we had in the 2020 class, you had some guys that popped to the very top. I mean, Chase Claypool obviously had a little bit of value for just the time. You have Antonio Gibson, Tua, Anthony McFarland, Joshua Kelly, Darrington Evans, KJ Hamler, Lynn Bowden, Van Jefferson, Cole Kmet, Justin Herbert, LaMichael P. Ryan, DJ Dallas, Adam Troutman, Antonio Gandy Golden, Devin Duvernay, Hookham Lawrence, I had a class with him, Eno Benjamin, Tyler Johnson, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts, Quintus Cephas, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Thaddeus Moss, Devin Asaya, and Albert O. So if you're looking at this entire list, yes, ignore the quarterbacks. I understand that data is not going to be relevant. But if we try to find running back, wide receiver, tight end hits, who can we say here? I mean, Gibson really never won anybody a league. Chase Claypool damn sure did not. So if you're looking at this, maybe you have one guy, and that one guy is Cole Kmet that's turned out to be something. In reality, you probably have no league winners. You probably have nobody that you're super excited about in this year. And if you wanted to make an argument for someone, I'd say Cole Kmet's pretty much the only non-quarterback at this point that still has value. Now, going over to 2021, you're looking at Kenneth Gainwell, Pat Frymuth, Amari Rodgers, Zach Wilson, Dwayne Eskridge, Nico Collins. Big hit with Nico. Obviously, if you're drafting Nico, you smash. You can be very excited. Tylan Wallace, Ramondre Stevenson, we're going to classify him as a big hit. 2 years ago, he was a league winner. Joshua Palmer, Mac Jones, Jamar Jefferson, Elijah Mitchell, Tutu Atwell, Khalil Herbert, Anthony Schwartz, Javion Hawkins, Des Fitzpatrick, Larry Roundtree, Garrett Oaks, Brevin Jordan, Cornell Powell, really nobody else. Now, I do want to circle back to Khalil Herbert, because I understand as I make this video, I know we're going to have a lot of people in the comment section saying, Mason, you skipped over Khalil Herbert. Khalil Herbert was a hit. And I don't want to say, oh, you drafted him in the 4th round and he ended up being slightly better than a 4th round pick or better than a 4th round pick. Let's classify him as a hit. Yes, they're going to be good 4th round picks. They're going to be bad 4th round picks. But I am trying to figure out guys that actually move the needle, right? If we just remove the draft capital from them and ask, okay, did this guy win a fantasy football championship? No, Khalil Herbert's never been a top 20 running back from a points per game perspective. So even if, yes, it was a great pick in the 4th round and better than most 4th round picks, we're not going to be classifying that as a hit. We are looking at guys that move the needle. Nico Collins did just that. Ramondre Stevenson did just that. So we're going to add them to our hits. 2022, you have Zamir, Brian Robinson, Tyler Algier, Khalil Shakir, Tyrion Davis-Price, Trey McBride. Trey McBride was a hit. He actually made a big-time difference this year. Tyquan Thornton, Keontae Ingram, Velus Jones, Jelani Woods, Pierre Strong, Justin Ross, Hassan Haskins, Kenny Pickett, Greg Dulcich, Romeo Dobbs, Calvin Ridley, Jerome Ford, Danny Gray, Kyron Williams. Kyron Williams, probably the second biggest hit, if not the biggest hit that you're going to find throughout this entire period. Your boy sadly whiffed on Kyron Williams. Trust me, I wish I had him on all my dynasty teams. He was the outlier of all outliers. I honestly don't even feel too bad about whiffing on it. Malik Willis, Jeremy Ruckert, Tyler Batty, Isaiah Pacheco, another hit with Pacheco. He has posted top 20 running back seasons before. He will be on our hit list. And Kevin Harris. Now, going over to 2023, I mean, the main thing that I want to point out is, well, yeah, you have some hits here. You have, I mean, CJ Stroud, obviously, we're not looking at one quarterback leagues. I'm not going to talk about that. We have Tank Dell. Tank Dell, massive, massive, massive hit here. And really, the main thing that we need to be pointing out is there's a name missing. Yes, Puka Nacua is not on here. Now, I understand he is a league winner. I understand that now he is, I mean, pretty much consensus, a top 5 wide receiver. Head over to the rankings on flogfantasy.com. You'll see it doesn't matter if it's an expert ranking. It doesn't matter if it's a community ranking. Puka Nacua is valued as if he is going to be winning dynasty leagues for years to come. And of course, if you're not already on flogfantasy.com, you can find that link in the description, find in the comment section. Promo code FLOCK will get you 30% off any subscription. Promo code FLOCK will get you our dynasty trade calculator, all the rankings to all your favorite YouTube creators. Will also get you all the premium content from your favorite creators. Plus, if you use code FLOCK, yours truly will break down your Dynasty Fantasy Football team in a podcast. But nonetheless, Puka is not here. And it gets to be a certain point of, if you're trading for a 3rd round pick, if you're trading for a 4th round pick, and this guy's not in top 45 picks of ADP, and he's in, say, an undrafted pickup from the waiver wire, if your dynasty league is shallow enough, I don't necessarily know if we want to make that as an argument on why you should be trading for 3rd rounders. If he didn't go in the 3rd round, I mean, he's not necessarily a hit for the 3rd. There are going to be a lot of those guys that are just free agents. I don't want to say a lot. There are always a couple guys that are free agents that end up hitting, but the issue is the sample size is a million in terms of the players to choose from. So the expected hit rate is so hard to quantify. But yes, Puka is not here because he was not in that set of ADP. But nonetheless, if we go through and take a look at this list and try to find the hits and where they came from, you have about 8 to 12. Going back to what we were talking about previously, it's difficult to quantify exactly what a hit is in fantasy. I mean, do we want to classify Hunter Renfrow as a hit? Do we want to classify Khalil Herbert as a hit just because they're better than other fourth round picks, even though at their peak, maybe they were only a running back 3 in fantasy, better than a running back 4 in fantasy? I don't know. I would say those guys aren't hits. I would say those guys aren't moving the needle, even if they are above average selections for the fourth round of your rookie draft. If I'm going to classify it as a hit, I want to see you actually make a real difference, such as Kyron Williams, such as Tank Dell, such as Isaiah Pacheco, such as Trey McBride, such as Nico Collins or Ramondre Stevenson, and maybe make the argument for Terry McLaurin. Even if he's never been a top 20 guy from a points per game perspective at the wide receiver position, he does have a ton of name value, and you could have sold him a lot more than what you drafted him for. But anyway, if we are looking at this, you have about 8 to 12 hits, if we are being generous, over the past 5 years between picks 20 and 45 in Dynasty ADP in your rookie drafts. The amount of picks that we are looking at that are non-quarterbacks, keep in mind, I don't want to come out here and say, oh, okay, yeah, 8 guys hit, and then we're looking at, this entire player pool. We did not include the quarterbacks as hits, so we can't include the quarterbacks in the denominator, but we are looking at 112 draft picks that were non-quarterback in this range of ADP. So your expected hit rate is about 7 to 10% on these selections. So that means if you were to go through and if you were to accumulate every third round pick in your rookie draft, say you go, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the next Puka. Let me trade for the 301, the 302, the 303, the 304, the 305, the 306. I'm going to stack all these picks up and I'll just find the next Puka. I'll just find the next Kyron Williams because I'll take them all. The reality is you go through and you do that, the guarantee that you find someone that is Puka, the guarantee you find someone that's Kyron Williams is not even there. You could easily go out there and you can accumulate 10 to 12 third and fourth round picks and come away with absolute garbage a year later. Now, that is not to say that you should not have your third round picks. That is to not say that you should not have your fourth round picks, but it is to put a baseline expectation of maybe what you can expect going forward, and maybe there is an alternative of what you can be doing with those selections. If I have a third rounder, if I have a fourth rounder, and for whatever reason, there's someone in my league that's going to give me a player that I can get a year of production out of, if I can trade my 310 for Austin Eckler, hell yes, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just because if you look at the expected hit rate for Eckler to make a difference in the next few years, what do we think it's higher or lower than 7 to 10%? It's probably higher, right? And that's why we are trying to gauge these baselines. That's why we're trying to give you an overall idea of historically what the numbers have shown, and you can make the decision for what's best for your own dynasty team. Another thing that I'm going to be looking to do is I'm going to be looking to take my third and fourth rounders and use them as trade sweeteners to get a deal done. I see it all the time, and it's the craziest thing ever that someone's going through and someone's saying, okay, I'm trying to trade Jamar Chase and get back Josh Allen. He rejected Jamar Chase in the 202 for Josh Allen, but he said he'll do it with my early third, or he'll do it with the 211. Should I do it? I'm sitting there going, okay, well, if you're trading the 211 to get this deal done and you are moving massive, massive pieces, such as Josh Allen and Jamar Chase, one side of the deal and the other side, the other one, ultimately, that late round rookie pick does not matter. It is such a small piece of that deal that you should always be willing to throw it in. If you are going to do the deal without it and someone asked for a third, someone asked for a fourth, give it to them, move on, and get the deal if you really want it. Now, of course, that's not when it comes down to, oh my gosh, should I trade Cole Kmet for Deontay Johnson? If it's down there, then the third round pick obviously makes up a higher percentage of the deal overall. I'm talking about the top end studs with your roster. So while maybe you fall in love with someone in the third round, maybe you fall in love with someone in the fourth round, maybe you're way better at prospect evaluation than I am, and you can go through and you can always find Puka. You can always find Kyron Williams, say, hey, just follow what Sean McVay does. Then yeah, stack up third and fourth round picks. I'm just not necessarily as confident, and I'm going to be expecting that they have about a 10% hit rate, and that was being generous because we were going up to the late second with this analysis. But I think that's all I have for you. Really do appreciate you. Really hope you have a great day. And of course, if you want to get access to all my Dynasty Fantasy Football rankings, get access to all the rankings of your favorite creators, all their premium content, plus if you want to get our Dynasty trade calculator where you can play around with pretty much every single league setting, you can find that link in the description in the comment section. Code FLOCK, 30% off any subscription. Plus, yours truly will break down your Dynasty Fantasy Football team in a podcast, and you'll get a free week trial with code FLOCK. But I think that's all I have for you. Again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate you, and really hope we get to see you out with the live stream later tomorrow.